What's going on, everyone? Juicebacks here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2 and a pre-launch Hero Spotlight. Now, I am going to do a few Hero Spotlights between now and launch, but I am going to pick and choose a bit, as I want to do spotlights on heroes that I think the builds will remain unchanged after launch. Now, I don't know. None of us know yet quite for certain. However, I'm going to try to do some safe builds that will be valid after launch as well. And I wanted to start right off with the absolutely shocking Spray and Stay Apprentice. Now, the reason I call him that, the Spray and Stay, is actually from Isom. Congrats on that item there, Isom. Love the addition. And the absolutely shocking part, of course, is referring to the elemental combo, Electrocute. Now, this is a dominant left-click hero that is going to just be able to spray down a lane, and everything it hits is going to have a nice large chance of being CC'd and being stuck right in place until we've had our way with them. Now, you are able to do a pretty considerable amount of damage with this build, particularly based off of your weapon choice, and I'll get into that later. I personally don't go with the highest DPS output weapon because I don't like the shot type. Let's hop right on in, though. First off, speaking of those weapons, I am using a 2.5 shot per second Penta 2 with 5 projectiles. Now, it's important in my mind to get the 5 projectiles, and I would much rather see a 4 per second version of this weapon. However, this is the best one I've found so far, so this is the weapon I'm using. Now, before we go any further, I will say that just with the nature of that fiery brimstone shard, if instead of going with the Penta, you go with a scattershot weapon, you will do considerably more damage. Probably about double. However, with the Penta, I personally enjoy the shot type better. It matches my playstyle better and does more than enough damage to get the job done. Come over here and give a little 10-second run on the target dummy here. And as you see, over 10 seconds, pretty easily staying in that 9 million DPS range, so not too shabby. Like I said, you can get this about double. You can get it probably up to about 20 million if you use that scattershot. However, I personally just don't like to stand quite that close to the bads, although that weapon will work effectively with this particular build just as well. Now, back to the weapon again. There are 2 shards that really matter. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out of there, as that is not important at all. The 2 shards that matter is, first off, Drenching Strikes. Your primary attacks have a 30% chance on hit to drench enemies for 7 seconds. The second one is Fiery Brimstone. As this is going to be a hero damage, hero crit dependent build, Fiery Brimstone scales absolutely insanely well on every hero with those stats, and is really one of the most powerful shards in the game right now, no doubt. Now, the combination of the Drenching Strikes and the storm damage that is just naturally on the weapon is creating the Electrocute combo, which once again, as we see, it just makes baddies just stay put until they're dead. Now, the combination of these two, being able to do just massive amounts of lane-stopping CC, plus pretty darn good damage per second, means that lanes are just going to die really, really fast, and it makes this a super effective build. Now, moving on through the rest of the armor pieces, as I mentioned, this is a hero damage, hero crit dependent build, and since I'm on C7, I am putting the rest all the way across the board on every piece of armor in hero health. This is going to give me 253k, and it gives me a nice little cushion against those Chaos 7 assassins, plus allows me to stand put just a little bit longer against those rollers without worrying about the rockets all that much. So every piece of armor, you are going to want to go hero damage, hero health, and hero crit. Doesn't matter if it's a warrior's piece, or a rogue's piece, or a berserker's piece. Whatever you want to do, you go ahead and use it. Just make sure you have those 3 stats. Now, as you look, the armor all the way across the board on this guy is actually not exceptional, And I probably actually have upgrades for all of that already sitting in my inventory. I'll have to go through that later. However, what I put together here, as you saw, was still able to get up around that 9 million damage per second range, plus have just crazy lane stopping CC. Let's go through all the shards. Once again on the weapon, you're going to want Drenching Strikes and Fiery Brimstone. The third doesn't matter. I say that, and I do mean it, and I was using Lightning Touch in it. I understand Lightning Touch is not in the game anymore, and you're still going to put out very, very impressive numbers without it. Life Leech is a viable source if you really want to make that a complete lane stopper, throw in Overwhelm and get the chance of stunning the enemies on every hit. Charge Shot is also a viable option. Power Volley, I mean, if you wanted to take that route on the Apprentice. There's a lot of different options you can have, but you want to stay away from shards like Haunting as the third, where Haunting, as you see, scales off of ability power, so it's not going to have the desired effect since we essentially have no ability power at all. Now moving on to the headpiece, Mana Capacitor increases maximum ability resource by 100. I'll get into why I'm using this later, but basically I have no ability power, so I'm not going to focus really heavily on the abilities. However, what goes just naturally with lane CC, that is, without a doubt, the old Apprentice's number 2 and the Tornado. And that's why I want to make sure that I basically never run out of mana and never have a problem there. Now, in addition to that, I'm using Channel, restoring 15 of my ability resource every 5 seconds, and Power of Storms. Now, those 3 in combination right there basically make it so I can spam that Tornado absolutely whenever I want. Now, moving on to the chest piece, we got Bulwark, increasing that armor by 40%. Try to get rid of a little bit of the squish. No reason for us to run around getting one shot. Power Gambit, which increases the hero damage by 50%, but increases damage taken from enemies by 20%. That kind of goes hand in hand with Bulwark. Of course, Bulwark will help us out a little bit with some of that increased damage we're taking. And then Superconductor reduces the cost of all your abilities by 20%. Once again, I never ever want to run into the issue where I can't throw a Tornado. And the cooldown on those are pretty low, so I mean you can keep those just running down a lane, even in addition to the regular spray and pray build. Spray and stay, pardon me. Alright, moving right along to the gloves, we got Critical Strike. Increases hero crit chance by 10%, kind of a must on any hero damage hero crit build. And Beacon of the Storm. Once per second, your primary attack spawns a lightning ball that deals 50% of your hero damage as storm damage, bounces 3 times. Now, this isn't doing an extreme amount of damage, however, that's another shard that's just going to kind of go naturally with any hero damage hero crit build, as it is going to give you some extra damage, plus, you see, you got that little bit of storm damage bouncing around. In addition to that, this storm damage will also combo with the Drench. So now I've got storm damage from the weapon and storm damage from a shard in my gloves, double dipping on that Drench and Electrocute combo. For the third shard, it doesn't matter what you use. Construction is a very viable choice. I personally can just not ever resist mana bombing things just because it's fun, even though I have no ability power, even though I'm not going to be spec'd into it at all. Every now and then, I kind of just got, I just want to mana bomb some folks. And that allows me to go ahead and still put out a little bit of damage anyway, and still have a lot of fun. Now on the boots, the given shard is the speed boost, increase the movement speed by 500. That's just going to have to come naturally, and I personally am using Wave of the Storm. Besides the speed boots, use anything you want in the boots, doesn't really matter. Now I do use a hero damage hero crit Poisonous Tips pet. As this is a hero damage hero crit build, Poisonous Tips is going to give me one of the greatest increases in overall DPS of all the pet abilities. Now moving on into Ascension. Now we'll start over in the utility category. The very first thing you want to do, it's hero damage hero crit. You gotta max out your crit chance. So get your chance to crit completely maxed before you do anything else in this category. After you get that maxed, make your choices. Basically, you're going to be filling these top 4 boxes overall. I personally, after hero crit chance, I went run speed, just to get that increased movement speed and a little more quality of life. Then I went into hero crit damage, and then finally ability mana. Once again, never running out of the ability to tornado some fools. Now in the defense category, for me, this hero is a hybrid, and I use my Frosties on this hero, plus I lay down walls on this hero, and now I'm actually working into flamethrowers as well. Now the benefit, of course, of that is if you do have a wall go down somewhere and you're out on this guy's your DPS, you can always throw one down real quick as a emergency last resort wall. These are by no means my strongest walls in the bunch, but it is exactly what it is. It's a last resort and nothing else. Now moving on over to the offense category. Of course, this is what really matters. Now the very first thing I always go into in the offense category in this build is hero damage. I completely maxed that out first thing. After that, it's really up to you. I personally chose hero health as the next choice, as in Chaos 7, hero health can definitely make or break your run for certain. And then since I do like to spam that tornado, everything else after that is going right into tornado damage. So hope you guys enjoy this build. This is one that I think fundamentally will be unchanged after launch, so I wanted to go ahead and get this out here, as it is a really fun and extremely effective way to handle just about any chaos tier. Now that combination of storm damage and the drench shard are both available very early in the game. All the other shards will come later. However, if you just go with storm damage on a weapon and that drenching strike shard, you can build this up right out of the campaign and work your way up to Chaos 7 with this hero. Hope this helps everyone out. There will be more hero spotlights coming before launch, but like I said, I am going to pick and choose a little bit, as I want to try to do ones that aren't going to be, or in my mind, probably aren't going to be changed right away as soon as launch comes, as I'm going to have to redo all those hero spotlights over again. But once again, that is the Stay and Spray, absolutely shocking Stay and Spray Apprentice. We'll see you soon. Be back probably tomorrow with some more DD2. See you then.